Good evening, everybody. Yes, we are a small part of the team who has worked at Reprogrammed Art and Open Manifesto. We actually are two coordinators, then we had a scientific collaborator for the historical research, and then a group of artists, both members of Gruppo T, which was this group of artists active between 1959 and 1979, and young artists and designers from Switzerland and Italy. The project was financed by Pro Helvetia as part of the exchange program between Italy and Switzerland for 2014-2015, and by other financiers like Migros. And we collaborated with We Make, which is an association in Milan which runs a fab lab and has a large activity of cultural activities. It's a research program insofar we had a long period of maybe next. This one, okay. We had a long period of research in the archives of the artists we involved in the research. This group is called Gruppo T. T stands for time. There were 5. Giovanni Anceschi, Davide Boriani, Gianni Colombo, Gabriele De Vecchi, and Grazia Varisco. They started the group, they founded the group in 1959, Christmas of 1959, so 1959, 1960. They were between 22 and 25 years old, and they were basically the first artists who, in Italy, who decided to use technology in their artworks. They then go back. Sorry. This is the first let's say their manifesto. They call it Miriorama, which stands for multiple visions, never-ending visions. No, let's go back. Miriorama 1 was and all the following exhibitions were called Miriorama, from Miriorama 1 to Miriorama 14 in 1969. And the text of the manifesto goes like that every aspect of reality is a variation on space and time. How did they do it? These are images from their very first exhibition at Galleria Pater, January 1960 in Milan. All the pieces do not exist anymore. They were most probably destroyed. Some of them were rebuilt for authorized editions. This piece, particularly the large pneumatic object, was rebuilt for the Galleria Nazionale di Arte Moderna in Rome in 2005, if I'm not wrong. All these very first artworks were followed up an invitation from the gallerist. Before the group was founded, they were basically abstract informal painters. Their very first exhibition at that gallery sold out, so the gallerist found it really encouraging and offered them the gallery space for doing whatever they wanted. And they came up with these artworks which embodied technology and did very strange things, such as pushing the visitors out of the gallery space, like this pneumatic object. It was connected with a pump, and and to a set amount of time, it started inflating air inside the pneumatic object and pushing the people out. Yeah, this is from another exhibition. Maybe we go on to the next. Yeah, this was a burning surface, which evidently had to be changed every night. So every day the artwork was destroyed to much unhappiness of the gallerist. And then you go back one. Yeah, this is Lucio Fontana caressing one of the artworks which was made of needles, which were moving under the surface through a motor. So basically, all these works had inclusion of technology, which made them very difficult to sell, to store, to exhibit, simply. And this was already in the 1960s. According to Massimiliano Gioni, the curator of the past Biennale, the Gruppo T and Programmed Art and Kinetic Art in general were are the biggest taboo of contemporary arts. Actually, after not for really for specific reason, they like the 5 members took different streets in their life. I mean, Gianni Colombo became an independent artist until his death in 1993. Grazia Varisco is still an independent artist. Giovanni Anceschi became a designer and a theorist. Davide Boriani moved to Brazil and is still an artist. And Gabriele De Vecchi took up the family company of Ferrari, silverware. And so the group was never formally dissolved, but in a way they vanished. From 1969, last exhibition in Ulm, as a side event at the Hochschule für Gestaltung. And for many years their work were hidden or forgotten or simply broken. And since the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s, partly due to an interest of some collectors, typically some of the works were re-edited for the WAF collection, WAF Stiftung. And for example, the Galleria Nazionale di Arte Moderna in Rome has to rebuild some of the works, but if you go at exhibitions, and currently there are exhibitions a bit all over the world. One is in Peru right now, one is in Shibuya. So you most likely will see these notes on the loan fiche, the loan contract of the work, which is don't switch it on. Switch it on for very little time. But once a day, when we had one of the works from 1963 on show in Milan, the collector was like, yeah, you can switch it on 2 minutes every day. And then for the exhibition, like, are you sure? Because 2 minutes every day, it's really problematic. And he was like, yeah, maybe every hour. So we decided to switch it on only if there was somebody in the exhibition. But this problem was not only for private collectors who are, in a way, they take very good care of their works, but it was a big problem also for public collections. At the GNAM in Rome, there is a work by Boriani, and it's broken. And he offered to repair it, and they were like, no, do you have still a motor from the 60s? And he was like, no, we can use a new motor. I was like, oh, then no, thanks. Because the chronological coherence of the parts is much more important for intron issues than any other criteria. So the problem we saw at the exhibition in 2014, there was at the same time 2 exhibitions in Venice. One was at the Prada Foundation, Small Utopia Ars Multiplicata, and the other one was the reenactment of Arte Programmata, an exhibition which was financed in 1960 by Olivetti, the Italian typing machine maker. In both exhibitions, the works were still. They were most likely not switched on. You could not touch them. So you had these chassis, because the visual effect that was designed by the authors was not performed. And in a way, conservation was prevailing on any other issue connected with the artwork. And this is, of course, right now beyond the will of the artist. They don't even know where the works are. Sometimes they come out in the art market, sometimes they vanish. But our will was to... You can go on? Yeah, maybe we can go back one so that I can only talk. So this is one of the emblematic works by this group. It's the sculpture You Have to Kick. It was on show at the Fondation Tinguely last year. They had to buy 3 replacement pieces because, of course, in 1 week the first was gone. It's a group of 8 blocks of foam connected to an elastic thread. Every morning the conservator has to put them in a regular shape, and then you can start kicking. And of course the idea is that you have to consume the artwork. And this was part of wild critique they were making as 20-year-old to the art market system. It was quite, they were quite aware of this, but of course it was their curse, in a way. So, if you can go on. Let's go back. We decided to, we had set this project to invite younger artists to younger artists and designers, to imagine a future for these works based on open source technology, the possibilities that a Fab Lab offers now, to imagine not exactly a conservation, because of course what we did is it's not replicas. We had a formal agreement with artists from Gruppo T and their foundation and archives, which excluded absolutely copies and profit pieces. So they offered all their materials. They offered to show whatever they had, blueprints. They offered to all the images free of rights. And we wanted to imagine how to preserve the visual effects, how to reprogram these artworks. This is called, kinetic artworks because they move, programmed artworks because in many occasions they embody algorithm principles. If you can go on. So we had set a workshop and then an exhibition in Milan, which closed down at the end of March at the Swiss Institute, where we had the chance to show at the same time artworks from the 60s on this side. Yeah, and then artworks that were produced in Lugano during this workshop in September 2014, with an in-between moment, which was an official re-edition by Alessi. We're not talking about this. So.
Okay, thank you, Davide. So the core concept of the whole project, Arte Riprogrammata, Reprogrammed Art, was basically to apply all these concepts are around in the field of making, let's say, or open source. We do research about this at our school, especially we try to apply and to include these practices in our work and research. So we ask ourselves, okay, let's do something with this and let's use it to solve like a kind of problem, an issue. And the first, we developed this concept of the reenactment as a method, in a way that we wanted to work on the artworks of Gruppo T, and in a way explore the way they develop it, the way they did it, and the way they produce the effects, in a way also to also create resources that could help people to preserve the artworks, even in the institutional context or even in an informal context. And then this was our goal. Like instead of doing some research just using archives, use official documents like pictures or talking with artists, let's do something where there is some action.
Mm-hmm. And the idea was picked up from Goffman ethnomethodologies that says that you can understand a phenomenon when you can acquire aesthetics and rhythms of the phenomenon you're studying. So basically, this reenactment was rebuilding, reprogramming.
Remaking the artworks, so making new artworks. And then, of course, the concept of reprogramming was also a core approach of our action research, because we wanted to use what is available today in terms of open source technology and electronics and even practices, not even just technologies. So, first of all, this is a nice story to start this, to describe how we did this reenactment. Actually, this is an artwork by Gianni Colombo that is called 0 to 120 volt. Basically, this story comes out from the conversation with Giovanni Anceschi, who was during the workshop. He was telling us that basically he fell in love with these artworks by Gianni Colombo while Gianni was making it. So they were together in an atelier, in a workshop, and they were together, and Giovanni was looking at the artwork and he said, "Oh, Gianni, this is a fantastic piece. I would like to have it. Can you give that to me?" And then Gianni Colombo replied, "Well, you can make it. it your own. Like it's okay. I mean, it's a simple artwork. I don't care. The important thing is just that you make it nicely. Like you don't make just a fake derivative, but you make it beautiful as it is. So was the like the atmosphere of that was around Gruppo T, like artists that they were sharing in a way that they were making artworks, and they really didn't care about the impact on the art market. So they were really working on developing art. And then, according to this story, we wanted also to recreate the atmosphere of the way they worked, because they decided to, like in a way, to use materials and machines. So the perfect atelier for them was a kind of workshop with machines and industrial materials. So then they didn't want to use brushes and canvas, because they knew that they wanted to explore a new way of making art. So that's why we decided to do this reenactment in a workshop, like a Fab Lab in our school. So basically this is the comparison between how they were doing things and how we make things now. And I mean, it's exactly the same, more or less, but with the help of digital fabrication machines.
Yeah, the thing is that they had to use workshop in factories in the 60s, because in two cases, in Colombo's family and in Varisco's family, there was a factory behind them, so they had this chance, and of course, yeah, that was their starting point.
Yeah. And so they were playing with new materials or different materials that were not paints and brushes. So this is a pictures of a nice video of the Archivo Olivetti about the exhibition Arte Programmata, and this is Davide Boriani playing with the iron dust. That was basically the material that he used for one of his artworks. That basically was a mechanism moving with a magnet, moving the iron powder that was generating infinite images. And then that is the same the same things that happened during the workshop. One of the designers we involved, Fabio Franchino, decided to explore the use of ferrofluid materials and playing with magnets. So it was just using an interesting materials and playing with the same concept, also applying like a kind of ludic approach, because it was just playing with this all time for 1 week before getting to the final artwork. And then, of course, we were doing sketches, like the people, like Gruppo T people, and then also doing a lot of prototyping and iteration. This is Thiboult actually in the pictures. And then it was also nice to have a kind of interaction with the two members of Gruppo T, Giovanni Anceschi and Grazia Varisco. So they could basically spend 1 week with us in the workshop in the Fab Lab,
and tell us, this is all ours.
Yes, yes. The basically, was kind of was really interesting, because they are, since they are doing arts. Still, they produce artworks. They recognize like all the possibility that they could have if they could use these tools, like 3D printers, for example. And they always said to us like, okay, it's the place that we would like to have in order to make our art. It's the right place, and we didn't have this kind of tools and possibilities at the time. And then, of course, there were nice conversation, like Giovanni also trying to do some prototypes with LEDs. And then, yes, artists working and making things. And then, of course, prototyping with tools that are available now, like hardware, open hardware shields. And so, I mean, the reenactment was actually, the goal was, of course, to get to the point where by making, we want also to open the Gruppo T artworks. So this is a picture of the backside of one artwork by Gabriele De Vecchi. And actually, this is actually the son of Gabriele De Vecchi, who told us, no, I cannot show you the back because otherwise you will see the magic. And then actually the magic is this kind of fragile structures connected to a handle that you could pull, and by pulling this structure, actually this affect the front side with some needles. So the first artwork was actually totally manual, and this is actually the algorithm behind the interactive pieces. So they were programming in this way without no digital, no code involved, but there was an algorithm, and that was this. And then also like studying and finding the way they were making the artworks.
This is again a film still from this documentary commissioned by Olivetti, and it's the inside of the Tavola di Possibilità,
No,
Tavola
that's
Magnetica.
Superficie Magnetica.
Superficie Magnetica
Yeah,
by
very
Boriani,
crazy.
and at the first meeting we were forbidden to show it, and we were like, but it's everywhere.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, and he was like, no, but you don't have to show it, huh?
Okay, so yeah, so the results, I mean, actually the physical artifacts that embed all this knowledge in a way, all this research that we did are 5 artworks. The first is inspired to the...
Maybe I just want to say, so we had 5 artists from Gruppo T, and we created 5 groups. And we really worked one by one, by couples, to think about new artworks. And we chose this project in the end by Giovanni Anceschi, which was a broken artwork from the 60s. Broken because he removed the motors to use them on another artwork. And now, for insurance issues, this is nothing. But we decided to have it on show in Milan just to show which is the problem. We have this artwork which should produce virtual volumes by rotation. And
And actually, this is an artwork that then Giovanni Anceschi developed in order to, I mean, it's research on how to create virtual volumes out of the movement of motors connected to 2 sticks. And then what we developed then during the workshop was actually the first concept that Giovanni had, but at that time he wasn't able to make it because it was kind of complicated because there were 2 motors, it was kind of impossible for many technical reasons. And actually it's a cube with 6 motors on every side. There is a motors connected to 2 sticks, and by rotating this creates 6 cones, and actually the name of the work is Esacono. So it's actually something that can back to the future, back from the past. I mean, it was never made, and we managed to reconstruct it and to make it. Actually, it's a very easy piece that you can make it really in one day, and made with also cheap materials. And
maybe you know the Tetracono by Bruno Munari. It's a cube with 4 cones inside, painted in red and green. Munari and Anceschi were talking about the Esacono, and Munari was like, give it up, you will never make it, it's too difficult. And then he came up with the Tetracono. And
he copied.
And then when Anceschi saw this, he was like, somebody did it. And we were like, yeah, we did it. It's like, how did you do it? It's impossible.
No, well, very easy.
And yeah, this is the result.
So... I mean, it's very easy piece, but what is really, really important is actually that we could focus on the effect. So now we know that the artworks by Gruppo T, they were based on variation and movements, and we could, in a way, we know what is the artwork about. If it doesn't move, we never have the experience. Without the experience, there is no art. So actually, the rotation and the creation of these six cones is the artworks that Giovanni Anceschi wanted to implement, but he wasn't able to make it. Then we created as a couple, Davide Boriani, together with 2 interaction designers, founders of an interaction design studio in Turin, the Todo Design Studio, and they worked on the magnet, Superficie Magnetica. and I end up with a great device that actually it's a plotter. It's a machine that generates drawings by moving a magnets and moving the ferrofluid material on the top. So this is a short clip about how it works. So by moving the magnets move according to algorithm written in a processing software, and so there are some rules that affect the movement of the magnets, and the magnets interacts with the ferrofluid material and makes nice drawings. Okay, the video is not, yeah, you can see it. I mean, and this is, I mean, in a way, is a kind of interesting because it's especially in the design field, not even in the art field, it's kind of peculiar to have designers making their own tools to design. So that's the interesting part, because they were focusing on how to generate a machine that generates art. And then we have another couple of artists, Gruppo T, Grazia Varisco and Yvonne Weber. Yvonne, she worked on the Schemi Luminosi by Grazia Varisco, that are these kinetic artworks made by patterns. There is one layer that is moving and one is still, and the rotation of one layer creates a very nice effect with the backlight with the light on the back. And this is the final artwork that is made by an LCD screen on the back inside, and then there are CNC. The parts are all made by CNC machines with two plexiglass support and some polarized filters on the circles, in a way that the effect is made by the overlap of the polarized filters. Show you quickly the video. Well, it reminds the effect produced by Grazia in the Grazia Varisco artworks. But the concept is that people actually they can make their own layer with the pattern that they like and use the polarized filter in order to enhance the original artworks that was made by just one kind of pattern. So, and then I just asked Thiboult, that is here, to explain this.
Hi. Yeah, so actually I was focusing my work on Gabriele De Vecchi, who is on the left, and my original point of interest was to use thermoelectric modules to cool parts. So the original pieces that I did during the first workshop was actually cooling down blocks of aluminum to sub-zero temperature, and they would get covered in ice in just when I would leave them in ambient temperature. And I was interested in this change of state between an object in a sort of normal context, and then by applying a physical change, it would change physical shape by being covered in ice. And it was actually quite difficult to work with, and I stumbled upon this work of De Vecchi, where it's a cylinder room, and he coated the entire surface of the room with a UV reactive paint, and the center is just a flash rotating, and so when visitors would just walk around the room, they would get their shadow would be printed on the wall and slowly disappear. So it's actually not, this is just a normal picture, it's not just an effect, it's like the shadow of people. So I was interested in his interest to work with a paint that would be able to change of state by introducing a physical change. And so I actually used thermoreactive paint to use the same temperature change, but then being able to create a change of state between two, like a black or white, or here I use the blue paint to go from white or blue, and I developed these modules that are actually PCBs, circuit boards, and they have the backside, some electronics on the front side. They are able to warm, and I can control via software if they go from blue to white, and they are linked together to create this pattern that flows through them, and they just warm and cool down, so they change between white paint to blue paint, and that's the project that I developed for this. It's actually, the idea was to focus on the digital shift of information. Like all the boards are autonomous, and they just trigger each one after another, and they just start to warm up, and you see really it's almost as fast as this, and it's really the layer of paint that change color. So it's there's really a physical aspect to it.
Yeah. Sorry. In my case, I was paired with Gianni Colombo, and Gianni Colombo is one of those artists of the Gruppo T, which became quite famous in his own name. And lucky for me, I didn't know that at all when I was actually paired with him. I just knew, okay, Gianni Colombo, whoever that was, and so I learned about his works, and what he basically did. He was, I at the end I condensed it to the fact that he worked with space and elastics, and we see it here within one of his masterpieces. It's actually a large space which he stretched elastics through the whole space in a grid. Which was animated, and people actually could walk through this space. And you have to imagine that you have this. And I'm not really sure. I have never seen a video of it played because it was in the 70s, I think.
Maybe it's a 3x3x3 space.
Yes.
And it's all mirrored inside, and there is this grid of elastic thread. Then it's triggered by a motor outside, and it was rebuilt. The last time, I think, in Venice in 2007 for an exhibition called Italics. But that's where I saw it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've never seen it. I only saw these pictures as a reference, and my own work over the last couple of years was basically I was working with space as well, but many people work with space. I work with space in form of projection mapping. I developed special software in order to actually map any kind of object on any kind of object. But it was mainly software-based work, and I was kind of intrigued on how to play with space, or the perception of space, just with the analog material that Gianni Colombo used. This is one of his other pieces. It's a black board with elastics which could placed in different arrangements and create this different kind of spatial patterns. And I liked the fact of elastics, and I thought, well, maybe it would be interesting to create a contraption that is pulling these elastics in such a way that actually you create the illusion of a rotating cube. Unfortunately, we don't have a movie here that shows you how this mechanic works. But you have to imagine that this cube you see here, defined by the elastics, is actually seemingly rotating in space, but it's actually only just being pulled by the mechanics I designed in order to give it this shape. And yeah, that was basically my question, and obviously I used only open source software to develop it. I developed it in Blender, which is a 3D animation and modeling software. I wrote a special script that allowed me to export those files for the laser cutter. So my aim was actually to create a piece that could be produced completely in a fab lab, especially because that was also the setup we had for the workshop. I knew if I wanted to create something, I needed to find a solution that would work within the technical abilities the Fab Lab had. And yes, and this is the result.
So maybe we can add that all the materials connected to these artworks were released under a Creative Commons license and can be downloaded from GitHub. They should be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that, using open source just a term is not, it's a real tool now. We consider it as a real tool for spreading the result of the project, but in a way also to preserve the research results in a way, because now we imagine that after we shared all the source file, it's the community that will take care of the preservation in the future. So our idea is that Creative Commons and in general open licenses, they allow people to make stuff, modifying, build upon other work by other people without asking for a permission. So this means there are more probabilities that this stuff will last for more time, like forever. I don't want to say forever, but actually there will be a place in the web where there will be resources that will tell the story of these pieces, of the pieces produced, made by the artists and designers that we involved, but they are connected to the artworks made by Gruppo T. So that actually the strategy that we want to rely on in a way to spread and to talk about it, to tell the story of Gruppo T and the way they conceived and they made art. So this is, it's a kind of really a platform, and it's a legal platform because the licenses are made just for just for that, to use the material, to reproduce the material, the artworks, to make them available in every context without asking for a permission, and then that's it. You want to add something?
Yeah, maybe if there are questions, if you go to the last to show the link. Any question?